Here we go. My name is Ed Howie, and this is How We Grow a Brand. If you like what you learned from this video, help us promote this channel by clicking the like button below and subscribing to our channel, How We Grow a Brand. Ready to go? Let's get into today's chat. Woohoo! It's your lucky day. Nichelle Pace is back to How We Grow a Brand. And let me tell you a little bit about Nichelle and why you're going to be really thankful to spend a little more time with us today. Nichelle is a seasoned media and creative arts professional. She's got over 20 plus years of experience in the film, video production, as well as lifestyle marketing and advertising agency background. She has led award-winning campaigns in large shops from New York to Chicago. She has been the steward of many global and domestic brands, including Procter & Gamble, Estee Lauder, Hendrick's Gin, Stoli Vodka, RJ Reynolds, and Sharp Electronics. So Nichelle has led clients with purpose across integrated digital and social marketing efforts, as well as she successfully developed and increased client revenue for small and mid-sized agencies in the Mid-Atlantic region. Now, serving as an industry expert and speaker panelist, Nichelle has been featured in publications, podcasts, television, and at leading marketing and social media conferences such as Revision Path, Social Media Week, New York, Blogger Conference, Blogacious Conference, NYC 3-Day Startup, Mashable Social Media Day, Essence Magazine, CBS Early Show, and the Today Show. Her entrepreneurial spirit is contagious. Her experience and leadership in the marketing community firmly lays a tremendous foundation for her, in which she transitioned to opening her own boutique creative agency, Brand Enchanted Media. So not only has she opened her own firm, she's celebrating over 5 years of entrepreneurial independence. And beyond all that she has done, you're about to spend some time with a most amazing human who brings candor and grace and incredible perspective to topics that matter way more than marketing. Welcome, Nichelle. Hello, Nichelle.
Hello, Howie. Hello, Ed.
So I worked at Chick-fil-A in the 80s and 90s, and there are taste and flavor profiles that certain cultures, certain ethnicities tend towards, okay? Mm-hmm. So like, I'm gonna use an example, Fanta orange drink, okay, was on the fountain. More times than not, white people didn't buy as much Fanta as black people, okay? Is that racist, me acknowledging that, recognizing that?
No, not at all. You do have to recognize the nuances and what people like in terms of culture. Right. It could be anything from soda to certain sauces to certain
hot,
preparation
cold,
of food.
Yep, music,
right.
all that
Some
kind
people,
of stuff.
So there's you have to acknowledge those nuances, but you don't have to make them other. All right, if you know that your black customers like Fanta, you also need to know what your white customers like. What about your customers that are on diets? What about the Asian customers? Are they the Sprite ones? You know what I mean? So you have to have all those options at the table and be cognizant. So maybe you package some things up, where you get your favorite soda, each week, a free favorite soda on us, whatever it may be. Being conscious of the differences within our various communities on how we behave as consumers is not the same as taking those dollars and separating them and breaking them apart and to only give pieces to those same people that spend just as much money as the other groups within it. That's when the problem comes, is when we allocate the marketing budget and the media budget to not reflect all those diverse perspectives of your consumers.
Well, and my thought is maybe the reason why you're only selling to one type of customer, whatever that type may be, okay? It could be economic, it could be ethnic, it could be gender, whatever it is maybe because those are the only people you've been talking to the last 10 years. And you have not told your brand story to anybody other than the people you think they're buying it. That's not good stewardship. Exactly. I mean, aside from like ethical and like human, that's just not good brand stewardship, but we do it all the time, don't we?
Yeah. And you know what? That information on which consumers tend to like which sodas could have been the same photo shoot, except you swap the soda out.
Exactly.
for the publication. So if I'm going into Essence magazine, I'm going to show a Fanta. If I'm going into Vogue magazine, I'm going to show a Sprite.
Imagine if we if we have different models, how about if we took a picture of the white guy with all the product and the black woman with all the product, and then actually we expand our communication to show that our product may and can and probably does appeal to everyone, not just the typical customer we think of. I mean,
absolutely.
To me, that is culturally responsible. And like you said, it's the same photo shoot. You're all there. It takes about 5 minutes, 10 minutes just to get that extra shot, but being deliberate versus reckless or haphazard.
Yes, also being deliberate. And then it gives you more options to kind of choose from, because just because there's a certain ethnic group in the shot, it's really about the product. You don't know. Somebody that's not in that group may find that ad appealing because that's the product that they grew up on, or that's the product that they love, or that's what happened in their neighborhood. And we also have to realize culture is not a monolith. You know what I mean?
Culture is not a monolith. What do you mean by that?
We can't just put each group in a box. That's the worst thing you can do. You can't call something black. You can't call something white. You want to see them as more than, what they look like on the surface. They have passions, they have wants, they have needs. And you may find, a 50-year-old Hispanic man that has more in common with a 30-year-old Asian woman in terms of their likes and the products they buy. So how do you categorize them? You shouldn't have to always categorize people, but you should make sure you have those diverse perspectives, viewpoints about consumer behavior, and then play out that consumer behavior within any mediums and ads that you're producing.
Well, and I think by nature, and I'm not a brain expert, but I think our brain tends to categorize things. We tend to I know from brand positioning, that's what happens, right? It's all in the context of what you know, what you've been exposed to, and what your perspective is. So if the only rental car brand I know is Hertz, then to me, rental car is Hertz. You can't stop there, though. You have to be aware that our mind does that, and we see the commonalities. But, one of the greatest design principles I ever learned from my design mentor was what the eye sees as contrast. And I think that is what's lacking when we're not being responsible, is we're not allowing ourselves to see the contrast. It's like, as a white guy, do I, in my mind, as I introduced you or acknowledged you as a black woman, I went through in my head, I was like, do I say that? What if she would prefer to be called African-American? Do I know that? And so when we get in our head too much.
Black.
Okay. All right. You see, so the deal is that an effort to try to be more responsible, if we let that little fear of making the mistake, which the cancel culture does not help us, any of us in this, right? Yeah. But if for fear of making the mistake, we don't do anything, then we're just disengaging. And that's not what we need. Yeah. We need to have these conversations. We need to do them in the spirit that I believe fully, based on what we know of each other. If I said something like stupid, you would call me out, but you would also know that I wasn't intending to be stupid.
You have to become accountability partner.
Oh, yeah. That's
essentially what everybody has to do to continue these conversations. When you start having them, you can't, we have to see the contrast. We have to see the colors of the rainbow. But we have to open a conversation to not just let people ask questions or make mistakes, but be accountability partners. I may make a mistake, in addressing the LGBTQ community because I'm not a part of that community. Do I have people I love in that community? Yes. So I expect them to keep me accountable. I may make a mistake in, addressing my Asian brothers and sisters. I'm not from that community, but I want, my friends and my family that are, to keep me accountable and then keep educating me on any blind spots I might have. So I think it's important that when we have these conversations, that are done again and centered in our humanity as a people, as humans, but also done with the sense that we are comfortable enough with each other to be accountability partners. because then it also gives you a sense of a foundation and a safe place, because I can make a mistake and I know this person is going to not hold me accountable, not just hold me accountable, but they're not going to look at me any different. They're still going to see me in an elevated light because they know where my heart is at and where my humanity is at.
Because we have a human connection first before we have a black or white connection.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You know, and it's really, you know, as we're wrapping this up, because I knew we could talk, and we will talk, and we're going to have, I foresee multiple conversations over the months and years on this, because I love the fact that we have such similarity and commonality, but we also have such diversity too, you know, and that's really how life works. But anyway, you know, as we're wrapping this up though, the thing that really kind of, so many things going through my head, the thing that kind of hit me was that, you know, your point about responsibility, and that when we have that power, we also have responsibility. If I am someone, and this is not just talking to the white people, okay, or the black people, it's talking to everyone. But if you're living and breathing today, after all we have experienced individually, collectively, and globally the last year, and you're not being more deliberate about how you relate to other humans, then shame on you, first and foremost. And you're probably not someone who I want to be friends with. But anyway, that aside, and if you don't want to watch this anymore, stop playing. But that being the case, if I'm trying to be more culture responsible, what are 2 or 3 things that you would suggest that I do or do more of to put in the work to be more culture responsible as a human, as well as a marketer?
Yeah. Well, you know, as a human and a marketer, I think it's first and foremost is branching out into spaces that you normally don't go, and asking questions. You know, whether it be to different cities that have different diverse makeups, or different cultural events. I love cultural events. So if everything could be like Epcot, that would be like the perfect world for me, where I could bounce from every different culture, eat all their food,
exactly,
and go home and do it all over again. But finding, and food, just on that subject alone, it connects so many of us culturally.
It does.
Because we connect so much over food, and we have such an appreciation for various foods from various cultures. So I think having those experiences, purposely putting yourselves in situations that you normally wouldn't, because you don't feel like you would be accepted, will start changing perspectives. That's number one. Number two is if you don't know, ask. You know, at this point as a marketer, you should be, not 6 degrees, but 1-2 degrees from somebody from another culture or socioeconomic background. You know, it's not just about culture and gender. It's also about age. It's also about, different income levels. Like all of those things play into it. It's just what you see on the surface is usually the first thing talked about. But even again, when you insert yourself in different areas, reach out and build relationships with people from other areas. You know, as I journey as an entrepreneur, the biggest and most fulfilling thing is being able to meet so many people. That's what I miss about being on Madison Avenue, is having my pick of culture any day. I could go to any country I want to, and just by what restaurant I eat at, or by
and that's just not a New York thing. That is pretty much definitely almost in any city in the U.S., but even smaller communities, it exists. So not only ask, but actually be deliberate about it. So what would be the third thing? So reach out and connect. Ask. What would be the third thing?
I think the third thing is really some self-reflection and self-inspection, to be honest with you. is this work meaningful to you? You need to ask yourself these questions about your own character on your journey. Is it meaningful? Where is my role in all of this? What am I going to leave behind? What are the things that are important to me in this journey? And I think self-reflection on where you fit in to diversity, equity, inclusion is important. You have to know your own purpose. If you don't know yourself, how are you going to get to know other people?
Right. Nichelle, thank you. I look forward to continuing this conversation. Always a joy. Thanks, Nichelle.
All right. Thanks, Ed.
I hope this helps and inspires your day. If any of this works on your business this week, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, or please message me directly. Can't wait to see what we chat about on the next episode. We'll see you soon.